The New World channel posted a dev update / roundtable video yesterday talking about the state of the game, future updates and bug fixes, as well as doing some Q&A. The video is 40 minutes long and some people might not want to sit through it, so I've condensed the main points into this video so you don't miss out. However, if you do want to see the original video, it's going to be in the description. But before we get started, if you do want to see more New World content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as I'm planning to make more guides and New World content for you guys. So the video started off by pretty much telling us that the dev updates will be a regular thing, which is nice because I'm pretty sure most of the community really enjoyed the first one, and it's better than keeping us in the dark like we were earlier in the launch. They also mentioned that they extended the Winter Convergence event for an additional 2 weeks for whoever didn't get a chance to play it. And with this, they get into the January update that's supposed to roll out by the end of this month. Aside from mutators, they have also added 6 more spirit shrines near the expeditions and other endgame content, so players can much easily fast travel to those locations. This is especially nice because they have also reduced the fast travel prices, so it's going to be much easier to get around the map after this coming update. They also talked about their implementation of the Umbral system, which will ensure that gear that the players have gotten so far isn't pointless, and instead they can increase their gear score with this new feature. It's worth mentioning that it's not just the 600 gear score items that could be upgraded with this new resource. You can also upgrade gear as low as 590 with these, which is really nice because it's really annoying to get 590 gear with perfect stats and then it ends up being useless because it can't be upgraded. So to summarize, the basic explanation is that you get 600 expertise with the Gypsum cast and continue to increase it through the Umbral system. As you increase your gear past 600, your expertise will increase as well. So they're not making the Gypsum system obsolete past 600, which is really nice. Speaking of tuning orbs, which no one really wants to talk about, someone on the dev team decided that we didn't have enough orbs in the game, so to access mutations, guess what? You need to craft a separate orb. But the upside to this is that alongside crafting them, we could directly buy them from the faction shop. And this isn't just mutations, this is also for regular expeditions as well. Which honestly, a big change and a very positive one, because I don't think there was a bigger issue than the expedition orbs being just insanely hard to get your hands on. So it's not just every separate mutations has a different orb, it's all the same. After this, they go over how they use the data that they got from the PTR and what that could do for the future of mutations. They mentioned that they're looking into implementing mutations on their lower level dungeons, but it's a matter of whether they can do it successfully. They also address some mutation difficulty changes since some of them were downright brutal. They also talk about the initial patch notes not being fully complete, which is not relevant anymore because this video was probably recorded weeks in the past now that it's posted, but they were reassuring that there were no silent changes and these changes were just not added into the notes yet. Obviously these have been updated and will continue to get updated if they do decide to make any changes. There will be a February PTR, even though it will mostly consist of bug changes. There is no specific time frame for the release, but they did mention that they want to give themselves at least 2.5 weeks before they can release it into the actual servers. If you haven't already seen, there are videos of the devs playing the game. In a specific video, they grouped up to do a Merkguard run, and the fact that they played their own game regardless of what some people say, it's honestly amazing and it shows a lot of integrity behind the team that's behind this game. They mentioned that these playthroughs help them interact with the community directly, as well as giving them tangible data through their own experiences in the game to avoid imbalances. Another big topic that was covered had to do with the merges. They mentioned that these merges are not yet complete as there was a quote-unquote housing persistence issue and it's currently being worked on. Once this is complete, there will be a merge 1.5 that will take effect and the second round of transfer tokens will be released to everyone. It also seems that if you haven't used your first transfer token, like me, it will stack to 2 instead of replacing the old one. So if you are in a low population server, honestly just hang in there because they're gonna push out these merges as soon as possible. As they mentioned, this is one of their top priorities and it's very important to them. And with this, we move on to the bugs that are currently being worked on. And just a quick side note, I love how they've been completely transparent with the fact that they've released so many bugs into the game with these updates instead of just making excuses. And honestly, there aren't a lot of developers that do this, so it's really a good sign that things will be fixed. So I'm just gonna list the bugs that they mentioned. Obviously it's not limited to these, but these are a few that stood out to them in particular. So to begin, they mentioned the bug where you drown on land, the bug where you are not able to fully complete your faction levels after a faction swap. They also talked about the Void Gauntlet sliding and the animation cancelling on the bow that increases the fire rate, which I'm sure at this point is in effect since the last patch, since this was recorded a while back. They also mentioned some of the bug fixes that will take effect in February. These include bugs that are generally related to missing ingredients in recipes and materials and their searchability in the trading post, bugs that are generally related to perks and abilities, and they also claim that they will fix every single bug related to quests, such as maybe the marker on the map is on the wrong location or you don't get a specific item that you're supposed to get. They claim that they're going to fix every single one of these. A few changes that they're going to implement. So the first one is an outpost rush change, where the brutes, quote-unquote meatball as they call it, will do less damage, as well as a housing tax change, which will be less than it was before. They do mention that it's going to be in between the original tax rates and the reduced holiday tax rates, so it's not going to be lower than what it is now, but it's definitely going to be lower than what it was before. Another huge news is that they mentioned they are working with Easy Anti-Cheat to detect these bot programs so they could ban them. According to one of these devs, 9,000 bots have been banned since the last dev update. Bots are one of the biggest player complaints since it heavily affects the economy of the game, so the fact that they are working towards an efficient system to detect these bots can only improve the situation from here on out. Moving on to balance changes. Changes for these weapons are going to be small as they feel that they're getting close to getting them perfect. Think about this next time you go against a great axe player, am I right? They also talk about the desync issues and how they have a separate group that's actively working on them. They also reminded us that the blunderbuss is the next weapon that's being added into this pool of weapon options, which I think is pretty cool, and I'm excited to see the interesting changes in playstyles and weapon combos that the players end up using. Another big issue that will be addressed in the February PTR is the weapon swap delay. They didn't go into too much detail with this, but they did mention that they will use the backtick button for a more reliable weapon swap. One thing to keep in mind though is that there won't be any instant canceling, which would completely change the core of the game, so that will not be happening, but the weapon swap will be queued up properly once you press this button. So moving on to the last segment, where they talk about the different questions that content creators have. So the first question is, are there any plans to adding open world content? To which they gave the vaguest answer I've ever heard, but they basically said that there are plans to do so. Why bump gear score so soon? The short answer is that this was already planned to be tied with the mutators from the beginning. Any changes planned for wars and invasions, smaller changes are going to be worked on, but they are mainly focused on the performance of the game, which either way honestly is a big issue, especially with like the war lags and stuff like that. So I do hope that they do fix that. Next question is, will there be any PvP mission changes? And to this they basically said, screw you guys, we like the PvP missions, even though no one else does, but they did say that it's being looked at, but it's not really a priority at the moment. And the last question is, will there be small scale PvP arenas? And interestingly, they said that this is already being looked at and may eventually come into the game, with changes being added to it as time goes on. So they end this video talking about their Dynasty Mutation dev run, which I assume will be posted soon, so check on their channel once in a while to see if they've posted that. But they mentioned that the next dev update will naturally focus on the customer service team, and there will be more transparency on bots, bans, and player reports, as well as some information on what we could expect in January. And yeah, that's pretty much the extent of their recent dev update. Some big information like the merges and the fact that they're working with an anti-cheat system to ban bots is very exciting, and the future of the game is honestly looking pretty good. Hopefully by the end of February they're gonna have most of these bugs fixed. People will start to enjoy the game more. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did find this helpful, make sure to subscribe, because who knows what I'm gonna upload next. And yeah, thanks for your time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Meatball.
The
Attack
meatball.